Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So, question for you. Would you like to be able to speak clearly, really put your thoughts out there easily, be respected, have more confidence? We can help you with that. Maybe it's a stutter issue. Maybe you're thinking it's a stuttering issue, but maybe it's not. Anna Deeter joins us again, and she's with livestutterfree.com. Great to have you back, Anna. How you doing?
Thank you so much for having me back. I am great. Just finished teaching another class, another student. It's so much fun when your student comes in your classroom and can barely say one word without stumbling and stuttering and blocking. And then in 3 days, he speaks just like you and me normally.
Why don't we go back, if you didn't miss some of our earlier talks, and really kind of break it down to the basics. What is stuttering? We all have our perception of it, but it's probably not correct.
No, it's not correct. I know it for sure, because I know clearly what stuttering truly is. It is a simple underdevelopment of adequate speaking skills. But to put it in a simple way, I will just explain that this is a whole bunch of incorrect ways of using your totally perfect speech instrument, okay, perfect, by its user, because the user has no idea how the instrument is built and is supposed to work, doesn't understand that.
So essentially, we're not using our mouths correctly.
Exactly, and it's not just the mouth, it's the instrument. Okay, there is only one muscle in this mouth that we're supposed to be focused on. It's only one muscle that we have to learn to use to say any word, anywhere, in front of anyone with accuracy and, of course, with ease and comfort.
How much of your mind comes into play when it comes to speaking clearly? Of course, the instrument, we got to make sure we use it right, but do people get caught up in not being able to find the words within their mind?
Very often, because what we have, every person is born with a perfect, absolutely perfect body-mind electronic device, body-mind biocomputer, every single one. And then we begin learning to use this. We are learning, this is our mind is working. We are learning to move our muscles, our body is working. It's just two ingredients of, maybe not ingredients, but two parts of our body-mind computer. And when one is not used correctly, then we have a problem. So mind is a big part, of course, in the problem called stuttering or stammering or stumbling or any speech imperfection or speech inaccuracy. It doesn't matter what it is.
I want to ask you this question.
Sure.
Because it's not, and I just did it, and that was part of the question. When somebody is speaking and they do say, is it acceptable if it's every once in a while? Isn't it just natural?
It is natural for you because you have never been taught what normal speaking is. In reality, when we speak, what do we need to do? What do we need to produce? Words. So whenever you say and it is meaningful, then it's fine. For example, if you hear something and someone is confirming your thought and you go like, okay, then it makes sense. This is the word, kind of. But if you simply cannot find the word at this moment, you're busy, your mind is busy selecting the word to say, you still haven't found it. And instead of keeping a little time, silent time, a little pause, and looking for this word in silence, you begin filling the silence with useless vocalization, whatever, and other, again, useless vocalizations. Is that acceptable? It depends. right? If you don't know that this is kind of strange to me, for example, why would you say when it's kind of much easier to be silent while looking for the word? It's much easier.
Totally agree. And
Less distraction.
I think I've said it before. When we take that pause in our mind, it seems like eternity. And I just paused right there. And in my mind, that was a long pause. However, it really wasn't. But
It was.
mind,
It's
so
perfect.
we feel like we need to, I call them placeholders, drop those words in there. Well, and to your point, Anna, and this just popped in my head. When you're talking with a friend and it's just a natural conversation, we're just having a conversation, we're just talking. You know, I'm on the phone with my friend Gary, and we're having a conversation. You never say you never do.
Good friend. You have a good friend.
But what I'm saying is, when it's a conversation that's natural, you usually don't say it just flows naturally because you're comfortable, typically. But when you're on the spot, let's say at work, you have to answer about a project, whatever it might be.
Whenever you are on spot, where is your attention? Your attention is on that spot. Okay. So your attention is on the question, on processing the question. For example, you are not selecting the word at this moment. And this is totally normal that you don't know yet what word to say. So to feel this silence with is actually robbing you of the time for selection of the word you want to say. Okay. And a person, when someone asks you a question, I don't think the person wants to hear your What does the person want to hear? He wants to hear words. So take time to find those words. Select that word that the person wants you to tell him or her. It's so simple, but of course, a lot of people, I would say 95% of the world population do speak incorrectly. And there is a very simple reason for that. No one has ever taught them to speak. The subject of standard speech education, I call it Etalon speech education, is not a part of a school curriculum in any school, in any country in the world. Instead of teaching our children to speak, what do? We teach them to write. Mm-hmm. Instead of teaching children to move their tongue, the instrument for speaking, we are teaching kids to use their writing instrument, their hand, and they work pretty differently. They're different. And whenever we teach our kids to move our hand to write and then expect them to speak in the same way, we develop stutterers. That's when the problems in speaking come up. This is why most people say, I started stuttering when I was 4, 5, 6. At the time when children are introduced to letters. That's why. It's a big confusion in their mind. They truly believe when they come to me, when I ask them, okay, here is the word. Tell me what sounds you hear in the word. And guess what they begin giving me? The names of the letters.
Interesting.
It's a confusion.
In terms of what students are taught, because you've worked in the States in many different schools and many different roles, so you're aware of the curriculum for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go back to what you said before. When we're trying to find the word and we use we mentally have to produce the it's not just kind of flowing out of you. So you're right, we're wasting our time when we could be finding the word that we want to use. You know, if the just dropped in there while you were trying to find the word, okay, that would be Maybe that
No,
was
it's
right.
not okay.
No. Hear me out. Hear
What
me
I'm
out.
saying,
No,
you're
I got
stealing
you.
time. Yeah.
No, I've got you. If it automatically dropped in and your brain didn't need to process to use the word ah, is it a word? I don't know.
Sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is. You're using valuable mental power, mouth power, when you could be looking for the correct word to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when a person struggles to find the word, when a person goes like, they call it, I'm blocked. I'm blocked. That's what they call. Stutterers say, I have blocks. I cannot speak. I cannot say the word for some reason. For some reason, I do this, that. And I always ask, who is that powerful creature that blocks you? Who doesn't take time for selecting the word? Who is running like a crazy person and not allowing you to select the word? And this is what I explain to my students when they are in my classroom. There is a big time lesson that I teach them. It's usually happening on the second day of the class. On the first day of the class, I teach them the mechanics. This is your instrument. This is how it's built. This is how it works. This is how every creature with a tongue that can mimic humans' words use this instrument. You're not an exception. You're just like everyone else. You simply haven't trained your tongue to work correctly. And by the way, what you just have done, Stephen, sorry to bring it up because I can see you, right? People who are listening to us, they cannot see. I can. Right now, I noticed that you will licked your lips. Okay? And every time, listen, every time I ask my students, because this is what all 100% of people who started do. And when I ask them, why did you just lick your lips? Of course, they all tell me, my lips are dry. My lips are this and that. I'm like, no, my dear, because you have no idea that your tongue is an instrument. And when you are moving your instrument in the wrong direction, okay, you are blocking your instrument. And the more often you are doing it, the more often you're blocking yourself and you cannot speak. You're not even aware of that. Okay.
Well, to be quite honest, I am thirsty and I wanted to be respectful and not drink this while we were on, so I'm going to do it.
You can do it. You can drink, but
That's
I'll tell you something. Yeah,
That's
whenever I am thirsty, I never lick my lips. Isn't it interesting?
I didn't
Because
drink enough today.
no, because I just understand that this is my block if I do so.
Well, it could be for some people that think they have blocks. Again, a placeholder or a habit where they lick their lips. It turns into a habit, just as does I would think that saying "ah" is the same kind of thing.
I like what you said. It turns into a habit. In a simple technical language, I can tell you what's happening. You program your body-mind computer to act in this way. This is why I very often call stuttering an infection, like not biological, of course, but informational virus. It's a virus. When people believe things that do not resonate with reality. And they don't even realize, they do something and they don't even realize that this is what makes you block, makes you stutter, stumble. There is a very good word I use, stupor. You know what stupor means? Are you familiar with this word?
Not stupid, stupor.
No, it's actually the same root, but stupor. It's the word they use when, for example, when you drive a car and you see some immediate danger. Let's say there is a pedestrian crossing the street or another car in front of you, right? And for a split of a second, you become like, you don't know what to do. You are kind of numb. You cannot hear anything. You cannot say anything. You are disconnected from your consciousness for a very brief moment. In some people, it's longer. But that's exactly what happens with people who stutter. Okay, when they stumble, when they block, they stupor. They use incorrectly their body-mind computer, and it blocks like this. I mean, people who don't see me, it's hard to understand what I mean, but there is a definition in Wikipedia what stupor is. It's just temporarily when you dull, dumb or something and can't hear. So yeah.
So we need to change stupor into super with livestutterfree.com. Tell us how the whole process works. It's a 3 days. Do I hear that right?
Yes, it's a 3-day course. And before even the course, I do a very precise evaluation. I give my students a certain set of tests. I'm testing their abilities to speak, their skills. And of course, no speech therapists ever do the same because they don't know what to look for. So after this set of tests, I immediately point to my students, see this problem, we're going to work on that. See that, this is your problem. So I am explaining to them what difficulties they have and why. Okay, so when we begin working the first day of the class, it's always about technical difficulties. So as I said earlier, we teach a so-called ringtone, natural ringtone technique, it's the technique of Mother Nature, of the way our tongue works, according to not syllables, not single words, not sentences, according to ringtones. It's the natural way of the movement of our tongue. How to move our tongue, basically, naturally, with ease, with accuracy, with no problem, no tension, no stumbling, no stupor. So the first day is technical. Okay, this is why it's like 6-7 hours, very, very long day. We go almost nonstop. And at the end of the same day, my students understand what speech instrument they have, how it's supposed to be used, and they begin speaking like all normal people on the planet, and even better. Much better, because I point. Listen to how they speak on TV. Turn it on. Listen. See how many mistakes these people make? So you do not make these mistakes. Good for you. The second day is mostly we are connecting the tongue with the word. We actually begin doing it on the first day. But the second day, we address a lot of difficulties because of incorrect use of memory and attention. So we teach our people, our students, to speak without any tension in the memory, any blocks in the way they use their thinking process. So this is kind of like mental day. We deal with mentality, okay? Mental processes. And of course, they get a lot of practical tasks, a lot. And while completing these tasks, they have all these revelations. God, it's so easy. Wow, I've spent so many years of my life on struggling. I wish someone told me this when I was like a child. I wish the same, but what can I do? So, and the last day, it's we're talking a lot about psychology. We teach our students not to look at other people around them as examiners. We explain to them that you don't care what other people think of you. Don't even think that they keep grading you all the time and estimating how many mistakes you've made, counting. No, people don't care much about you. They have their own problems in their mind. So the third day is a lot of psychology, a lot of other things we are dealing with. And I want to say that each and every class is very, very custom made. The lesson plan is totally different from student to student. I just explained like how it goes in general. But sometimes I do everything on the first day. When a person is, no, I say smart. No, what I mean is that you know yourself when you were in school, what kind of grades you were getting. We're all different. Some students get A grades and others are happy when they get C. It happens, right? So this is the same what we have in our classroom, different kinds of students. Some our students get it right away and they begin speaking with no problem on the very first day. And on the third day, for example, I'm sitting, I'm bored. I am even telling them, hey, I am bored. Nothing to scold about. I mean, nothing to complain. Okay. But there are some students that I'm working really hard for almost 30 hours, 3 days in a row.
You know, I
Okay.
want to jump in, Anna, because I was going to ask you that
Please.
question. Does it have to be 3 days in a row?
It's better, of
Okay.
course, because we are pushing through. Basically, I am taking the hand of a person, confused person, call him a stutterer or stammerer, and I am walking him or her through their confusion in the mind, confusion. And of course, it's much easier when you do it, boom, through 3 days nonstop. But of course, not everyone has the funds, especially in today's crazy world, right? And yeah, I do offer sometimes so-called introductory course when my students step in and I work with them just with their mechanics one day, 6 hours of my time. And they understand what speech instrument, how to link the word, spoken word, with the tongue. They begin understanding it. But of course, most of the time it's not enough. And I cannot even guarantee anything. And when my students graduate from the 3-day class, guess what? It's a 100% success guarantee, not less. I'm not going to let you go if you are not 100% satisfied. If you're not 100% happy with the way it feels, so easy, so simple to speak. This is what I see with each and every student at the end of the class. But after the class, the work is not over. They would have to complete building their tongue vocabulary. I don't know if you're understanding me. Tongue vocabulary, not the way we write words, not the way people are saying words. I mean, yes, the way people are saying words, but we are supposed to build our vocabulary, the words, in the way we move our tongue to say them.
Can you give us an example?
Of course. Any word that, remember I told you, oh, maybe I didn't. So imagine the word thought. Do you remember the spelling of the word? How many letters are there? Thought.
7 letters?
Seven. I'll just tell you right away, 7 letters, which means that in order to create this word with our hand, how many movements of the hand we need to make? 7. 7 letters, 7 movements of the hand. And believe it or not, in order to say, create the word with our tongue, we would need to make only 2 movements of the tongue. Only 2. It's quite different, isn't it? And when little kids learn thought, 7 letters, they begin learning. And then they become confused. How do I now say this word? And if a child, by the time he's introduced to letters, he still is not really a good speaker, he hasn't truly learned how to speak well with accuracy, the confusion pops up in the mind. Even writing should be presented correctly to a person. The way we read, it should be explained to a little kid correctly. And when my students come to me, they realize they don't know even how to read. That's why they can't even read out loud.
And if you come from parents that have, let's say, a dialect, and then the child tries to put that to the spelling, there's a disconnect there as well. Doesn't make sense.
And guess what? They call it dyslexia, la, la, la. They come up with all kinds of medical terms. So my main reason I am going everywhere and share my message, the message is very simple. Stuttering, stammering, cluttering, whatever you call it, logoneurosis, they call it all kinds of medical terms. It's not a medical condition. The problem exists, yes, but it's not medical. You don't need to take harmful psychotropic drugs. You don't need to use all kinds of devices, like deaf devices they put in their ear, and use devices like not low, slow,
Implants.
Feedback, like slow feedback, or delayed, the word is delayed feedback. Okay. So you don't need all of these medical devices. You need to learn to move your tongue by ringtones in the correct way. Because the moment you understand what ringtones are, how our tongue is moving to create those ringtones one after another, stuttering disappears instantly. Do you understand this word? Instantly.
It's amazing that so many people are affected by it, have fear of speaking, have lack of confidence, and they just need to learn how to use this and use this a little more.
In coordination.
Yeah. We're just about out of time. Live Stutter Free goes fast. LiveStutterFree.com. Somebody can go there and speak with you. Free consultation available?
Absolutely. So when you land on my website, please click on the message I put on every page of the website and watch my free webinar about the 4 very precise steps to your stutter-free life. After viewing the whole webinar, you will go, the system will take you to the page of my calendar, and you will be able to schedule a free consultation over Zoom. I need to see you. I need to see what you are doing, what your problems are. What is it that you're doing that blocks your speaking abilities, your beautiful speech?
I'm licking my lips.
Don't! But you know what? It's not enough when I tell you, don't lick your lips. It's not enough. You need to understand what to do instead.
Of course. Of course. You make it very clear, and I appreciate that, Anna. And let's speak with confidence nowadays. It can be done. LiveStutterFree.com. Great having you with us.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.